A very good evening to you, Dr. Harvey, and thank you so much for speaking to us. Let's just latch on that discussion that my colleagues were having, the focus for some and interest continuing to be on the fate of the former President Jacob Zuma. But there is then the other issue of the Secretary General, Fikile Mbalula, who has come out to say that the party misled Parliament to defend its then president, which was Jacob Zuma, then at the time around the whole issue of Nkandla and the renovations or the fire pool there. But what position does this put the party in terms of the trust deficit? Can it afford to have a Secretary General that has made such a major faux pas and still hold the higher moral ground on how the former president is then behaving now?
Hi, thanks for having me, and good evening to the viewers. No, to respond to your question, you need to go beyond the General Secretary, what he had to say about, how they collectively defended Zuma with that Nkandla matter and so on. It's actually, it's a reflection of how serious the crisis is within the ANC at the moment. And at the heart of much of the anguish the ANC is experiencing at the moment is the fate and future of Zuma. And I heard your reporter earlier, it's true that, properly speaking, Zuma should have been hauled by now before a disciplinary committee. And the logical outcome of that, if you follow events closely, is that he should be expelled. That is Section 25. But you heard the chairman of the ANC, Ebrahim Harvey, saying yesterday or day before yesterday that they're going to now defer a final decision on Zuma to after the elections. Now look at that, after the elections, because they know constitutionally he should be shown the door and expelled. But the repercussions for the ANC during the worst crisis it has ever had since our watershed 1994 elections is right now. All the gloves are off. You can just see the ANC is about to enter the most difficult and tortuous election season since 1994. So Zuma, as I've said it before many times, no matter what you and I have to say about arms deal and corruption allegations, is extremely popular. I regard him as the most popular politician in KZN without any doubt whatsoever, and I think further afield. So the ANC is caught up in a moral and political and constitutional quandary. On the one hand, he should be suspended and brought before DC and probably expelled. Or if you do that, you incur the wrath of those members of the ANC who's moved over to MK. He's had a dramatic impact, I can tell you. If you look at today's rally in KZN, he's riding the crest of the wave, Zuma.
And that's the point I was making, Dr. Harvey. I want to go back to this issue that I was referring to about where this puts the ANC in terms of strength. So there was a suggestion that some in the NEC believed that Fikile Mbalula was or is campaigning against the party. Is that plausible, and is it witting or not? But there's also a view that the expulsion of Jacob Zuma ultimately would be a huge victory for President Cyril Ramaphosa. But is that really the case?
No, I think all of them, including Ramaphosa, there's no doubt that they're having sleepless nights about how to handle Zuma. And the final say, I think, is what Ebrahim Harvey has come out. I think it has less to do with the General Secretary, Fikile Mbalula. I think what is happening at the now is a reflection of the anguish of the ANC about, look how they dealt with the former General Secretary, S. Magashule. They put him through the DC, he's out. Properly speaking, but you have to look at the political stature of Zuma compared to to S. Magashule. Zuma, no matter what we say, is incomparably bigger political image and stature compared to S. Magashule.
Okay, so I want
just a few months to go.
All right, so I do apologize. We have quite a number of issues to discuss, and I want us to get through them. The NEC discussions, we understand that they'll also include the Zondo Commission report, those implicated in their appearance before the Integrity Commission. But what are the chances that the party is going to take a very definitive oath and commitment in terms of dealing with the fallout from that? Are they going to keep to what they've said, that they will keep anyone accused of corruption off the list?
No, well, it's a big question. Up until now, no decisive action has been taken. There's about 80 to 90 people who's been fingered by the Zondo Commission of Inquiry for allegations of corruption. You have to see a similarity between the risk that the ANC faces to take action against Zuma as equal to the risk facing the ANC if they have to act against any of those people who've been fingered, and many of them have been fingered by the Zondo Commission of Inquiry. But I can tell you, the Zuma matter is far more explosive compared even to the possible, charges and, maybe withdrawing one or two candidates because of the Zondo Commission of Inquiry report. The whole question around Zuma, to me, ultimately, is even of a bigger risk, and that's why they've decided to tread conservatively. Whereas, in fact, Zuma should have been brought before a DC and expelled. Ebrahim Harvey, the chairman, has made it very clear they are going to delay any action because they know the risk they run. If they take action and especially dismiss or expel Zuma, it's going to count. Remember, the ANC's got its back against the wall. There's a whole lot of things. The ANC's at its weakest point since 1994. It doesn't want to worsen the situation, and it's going to if it has to expel Zuma.
Is that why, for instance, is that why, for instance, the ANC would go so far as defending Zandile Gumede's involvement in the ANC campaign, something that has raised the eye of some? And does it not confirm the view that impunity, particularly associated with dominant party political systems, is the order of the day for the ANC, and that's what you would be voting for if you vote them into power with the majority?
Well, the thing is, the ANC is racked with factionalist divisions. You mentioned Gumede now, and you look at what's happened to her. There's too many issues. You can raise a whole lot of, and in fact, the way the ANC has dealt with the step-aside rule and who's been fingered and whose action has been taken and others have not been. I mean, you take this Zondo Commission of Inquiry and you look at the fact that two people who've been fingered, seriously for allegations of corruption, though no charges, as is in the cabinet of, still in the cabinet, despite those allegations, they is still in the cabinet of Ramaphosa. And it's all over. In fact, a big gripe of the former wife who has now refused to stand for Lamini Zuma is because of what she said. She said it's very unfair. She referred to Ismagashule, that the ANC was treating some differently from others in terms of the step-aside rule. So there's lots of deep resentment within the ANC. And you heard Ismagashule on it too. And it is still there with the ANC. And in fact, I think, you might find it counting against the ANC in the election in a few months' time. But there's lots of flashpoints around factionalist loyalties. You mentioned Gumede. It's too late in the day, let me tell you, for the ANC to do anything about it. You're sitting with a few months. But the one big thing now, it seems settled now, is what they're going to do with Zuma. And they won't expel him and they won't bring him before a DC before the election, as Mantashe has said. And they're doing it shrewdly because they know the risk they run if they do it before the election. They're going to postpone it for post the election and decide what to do. You can see he's actually been baiting them. He's been provoking them to expel him. Zuma, I think he's known what he's doing, but he knows too the ANC runs a huge risk, and not just in KZN. I think analysts think it's only in KZN, it's mainly in KZN where Zuma support is huge, but I think it has ripple effects and a wider support in other regions, maybe not as great as it is in KZN, but it's a big factor. No matter what we say about it, Zuma is the most popular politician in KZN. And remember, KZN is the biggest region of the ANC.